What's going on, guys? It's Cliffy here, finally back. I finally have a new laptop. I'm not using the old one, so that does mean we aren't going to have the overheating problem. We are going to be sweet and sorted. The only thing, or the only little issue that I do have is that, it is still a little bit out of sync and I'm still working on things. So I do apologise, if over the next week the videos are, just a little bit, they're not going to be too bad, but just a little bit out of sync and a little bit out there. As I said, hopefully we will have it sorted, either this week or early next week, as Luke Romano's making a big bust up the middle. Today we come back, obviously our second video back. We did Don Bradman yesterday. If you haven't gone and checked out that video yet, make sure you go and do that straight after you've watched this one. But we are back. We are playing in the Super Rugby final against the Sharks. That's a very risky ball, but Matt Todd sweeping in there, picking up the ball just like that. But playing in the Super Rugby final, I believe last time, it's so hard to try and come back and think, what we were doing beforehand. And obviously we were playing the semi-finals. I think we played the Hurricanes possibly, and obviously managed to pick up a win against them if we are taking on the Sharks in the final. The Sharks aren't in the semi-finals of the Super Rugby competition. And that's going to be, I guess, my next topic that I am going to move on to is the Super Rugby, finals. They are actually in... Oh, Crotty, I was going to pass. No need to pass. Shoots through the gap and puts it down, boys. The Crusaders, just like that, up 5-0. And as I said, things may be a little bit out of sync with the audio and stuff, but I do apologise about that. But no, we can't complain too much. It actually isn't too bad from what I've done. I did about like 50 tests last night just to go and make sure everything was all good, and it did seem to be all right. So we banged that one over from DC. And I think what I need to do until I get it sorted is just be a little bit delayed, in my commentary and not commentate things really until they've happened, which is, a bit of a downer because obviously we like to go and keep up to date as much as possible, but not so the case. Anyway, the Sharks, they take on... Well, actually, we won't start with the Sharks. We'll start with the Highlanders taking on the Brumbies. Now, this game took place, I should say, Friday night New Zealand time. It was, I believe it was over in Canberra, actually. I think the Brumbies were, they must have been a wild card entry. No, sorry, the Brumbies were the conference leaders, I believe, in Australia. And I think what happens is, regardless of the points scoring table, I think if you are a conference winner, you obviously get a home quarter final. I think that's just how it goes. Again, not 100% sure. They have changed the format of Super Rugby. It seems like they change it every year. Obviously, this year I believe they've added in 3 new teams. It's gone to more of like a Super 18 now than a Super 15. And again, they just change it, so I'm not 100% sure. Jesus, what a good... I was going to say, that's a great drive by the Sharks. I was actually trying to turn them 90 degrees to try and force a turnover. And great tackle there by DC to go and stop the player heading down the line. We just need to be careful here that, we don't leave that blind side of the ruck open. Technically, that ball's out, so you could be able to come and grab it, but we're not going to because, knowing this game, we probably will get penalised. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Conference leaders do get the home semi-finals, which is, that must work because there were 2 games. No. How does that work? Oh, no, that's right, it does work, because South Africa has 2 conferences, and then New Zealand and Australia have one as well. So that's why there were 2 games in South Africa, 1 game in Australia and 1 game in New Zealand. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk actual results. So the Highlanders taking on the Brumbies. There was a little bit of controversy in this game, very close game. And I believe it was a try. There was a try that was disallowed that... there was no conclusive evidence that the ball had been grounded, but it did look pretty good that it would have been grounded from the position that they were in. But obviously, no conclusive evidence. The TMO gave it no try. And, the Brumbies obviously were understandably upset about this decision because it was at a very important time of the game as well. At this stage, the game was locked at, I believe... Oh, my God. Crotty, you... idiot! Why didn't Ndolo pick it up? I don't know. But the game it wasn't locked, sorry. It was 15-9, which actually was the final score as well. But the Highlanders were up at that stage, and the Brumbies scoring that try, had they been given that try, it was very close to the post as well. So you'd imagine that the conversion would have been taken as well, which would have taken them out to a 16-15 lead with about 10 minutes to go. And apparently the Highlanders were just absolutely under the pump at this stage of the game. So, you know, it would have gone and made a big difference, and it probably could have seen the Brumbies not only win the game if they'd kept it, you know, to that 16-15, but possibly if they're all over the Highlanders, there's no reason why they couldn't have scored, you know, another couple of points. Nice wee grubber into the end goal, but it is going to go dead. So at the end of the day, that game actually did finish 15-9, and we will take... I was going to say, we'll just let the time run down, take the 22, and we might actually just see if we can just pump this out and head into the sheds at half time. I don't think I've ever seen a 22 kicked out on the full before, so there's a first for everything. It does take it to half time. I thought it may have been a free kick or a penalty or something like that. The Sharks have only had 8% of the possession, would you believe it, but 81% of the territory. The game being played a lot of the times down in our half. You know, we do have the ball, but only 8% possession. That is absolutely crazy. But anyway, so that game, that's all the Highlanders. They were the first team through to the semi-finals. Obviously, very controversial win, but a win nonetheless for the defending champs. Second game was played Saturday night, New Zealand time, and that was played between the Sharks, who are playing here today, and the Hurricanes, who I believe actually were the conference, I think the overall leaders. I think they finished in first place, took on the Sharks, who they had played in South Africa, I think about 3 weeks ago, and, you know, got done a little bit. And I'd have to say that a complete role reversal was at hand this time. Sorry, not the Crusaders, what am I saying? The Hurricanes are absolutely annihilating the Sharks. I'm not 100% sure of the final score, but I do know that the Sharks were kept to 0. And I'm not 100% sure about this fact. I did hear it briefly on the radio. I didn't hear all of it, but I believe this is the first time. I'm not sure if it's the first time in history, just in like normal Super Rugby games, or if it's the first time in finals games for the Hurricanes. But it's the first time in either one of those two that they have kept a team. Great offload. Richie McCaw. Oh, McCaw can do it as well. It's the first time that the Hurricanes have kept a team to 0. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure if that is if that is a fact for, just any of those 250 games that they have played, or if it is just for finals games or semi-finals games or playoff games, whatever you want to call it, for the Hurricanes. But either way, a very, very impressive performance against a Shark side who have been known to be dangerous, in recent years. Obviously, they took apart the Hurricanes over in South Africa just about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. So, a very, very good win for the Hurricanes, and it definitely does show that they are up for the fight. I believe they finished top of the table last season as well. Obviously, couldn't get over the final hurdle last year. And semi-final 1 is actually going to be a replay of the grand final last year. It's going to be the Hurricanes taking on the Highlanders. I'm not 100% sure where that game is. I'm assuming because the Hurricanes finished top of the overall ladder that the game is going to be in Wellington. But again, do not quote me on that, as the Sharks go and finally get a bit of ball, and they do go and make it count. So 7-5 with the kick to come, and you'd imagine South Africans, one thing they are good at, they are good at kicking the ball. And just like that, I mean, straight down the middle, never looked like it was going to miss. I'm not sure why the hook is kicking there, to be honest, but maybe that's just a little bit of an error. Next game we're going to get to is, the final two quarterfinals. First one played between our beloved Crusaders and the Lions, who I believe this game was 2nd v 7th overall. And always going to be a tough trip heading to South Africa. It's always hard, the travel, and the Crusaders couldn't go and get it done. Obviously, started off the season with such a hiss and a roar, played so well. After the international break, came back, a little bit jagged and a little bit fatigued, I guess you would say. And that did show on Sunday morning New Zealand time. I think it was about 42-25. Couldn't get up in the end. Go Dagger! Oh, the step! Oh, I thought he'd gone and made it through, boys. That could have potentially been the try to win the game. Not long left now at all. Oh, Cody Taylor. Beautiful little fend. Gets away from him. We just got to make sure that we maintain it at the breakdown, which we have gone and just done. But anyway, Crusaders, not good enough. Lions getting up there in the end quite comfortably. So Lions are second. So I'm assuming that the winner of the other semi-final, which was played between the Chiefs and the Stormers, which the Chiefs absolutely ran riot. I think they scored 60 points from memory. And I'm not sure if that's going to be a try. We're going to go upstairs. I think Sam Whitelock possibly may have grounded the ball. But anyway, back to that Chiefs game. Chiefs absolutely annihilated the Stormers. I think they scored about 60 points against them or something. It really just showed. They've been another team that have been very, very impressive this year. And there is a big try for big Sam Whitelock, who's recently played his 100th game for the Crusaders. And you wouldn't think it, but this is a very big kick for Dan Carter. This does keep it out to a converted try lead. And well, what can you say? You can't really expect him to miss from there. Just absolutely incredible. Sharks are making some subs. Just about 5 minutes left to go. And we will hopefully be able to go and hang on to this victory. But anyway, the Chiefs absolutely annihilating the Stormers, as I've said, about 3 times. And so I believe they will take on... Oh, Cody Taylor. Beautiful pick up and run. So I believe they will take on the Lions next week. And the Hurricanes obviously taking on the Highlanders. So, you know, it is really... Oh, Ndolo, why don't you dive on that, son? You know, there is a big possibility that we could see, you know, again, an all-New Zealand final. And there is a big possibility, well, there is a 100% possibility that we will see at least one New Zealand team taking part in the final. Obviously, 2 New Zealand teams playing off in the semi-finals. So... You know, very, very good for New Zealand rugby, and I guess it shows, you know, the state of affairs, especially for Australian rugby, that they only could manage I'm pretty sure they only had one team that did end up making, you know, the top 8, and that was their conference leaders. So it shows, you know, what a poor state of affairs they are in at the moment when it comes to rugby in Australia. Obviously lost 3-0 to England on the international break. And that's, I believe, the first Test Series victory that England have had in a very, very long time. Andy Ellis there, just a little bit offside, but it just continues to keep going, this game. It just continues. We just cannot seem to get the turnover. Once we get it, the ball is definitely going to be heading into touch. But the Sharks, they are not giving it up lightly, boys. We need to make sure we don't give away any silly... Well, I mean, we actually can give away some silly penalties, to be honest. It's not going to be the end of the world if we do give away a penalty in a kickable position, because obviously we are up by a converted try at the moment. So we just need to make sure we keep them away from our try line. And as I said, just try and get a turnover. I thought that could have possibly been our opportunity, but not the case. And the Sharks, I guess they're making up for some of that lost possession that they didn't have in the first half. We have now gone into the 12th minute of injury time. And this is something that you don't see very often. This is something you see in a football game where someone's had a serious injury, you know, and they've had to be stretchered off. They've had to take lots of precautions with them. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. We just cannot get our hands on the ball. We just cannot win a bloody breakdown. All our forwards must be tired. They have made quite a few subs. Oh, no. Not this way. Colin Slade, great tackle. Get in there, boys. We have to win this one. You're joking! What are we doing, boys? Oh, play for each other. Play for yourselves. I don't care. Just play and get the turnover. I've never seen a game go this long. We are coming up, would you believe it, to 20 minutes. 20 minutes of injury time. Oh, Dan Carter missed the tackle. I don't know what it is. We just cannot get a turnover, boys. The Sharks have gone almost the length of the field. Oh, and they've knocked it on! They've dropped the pill, would you believe it? What a way to finish. They've gone nearly 90 metres, and when the player on the wing is free, he's basically in for a try one-on-one with Dag. He has gone and knocked it on. He's dropped the pill, and that is going to be enough to see the Crusaders jumping for joy, obviously jubilant. They have won the Super Rugby title over in South Africa, so that is a very, very cool achievement. And I just want to see if... No, I was going to say if they... Oh, no, they do! I was going to say if they actually have the Super Rugby title. Obviously, the old one sans are no Argentina and no Japan in this competition. Well, sorry, none of their teams. So that's very cool that we do actually have the trophy celebration at the end. But I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Do hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to leave a like. If you are new, please do subscribe. Make sure you check out my Facebook and Twitter links that can be found down below in the description. Don't worry, this series is not done and dusted. We'll be coming back next week looking to go back to back with the Crusaders winning the Super Rugby 2016 title as well. As I said, hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We've got Don Bradman batting career. Really looking forward to getting back into that. Make sure you do not miss that.